You're listening to We Do Recover, the podcast that proves recovery is possible and connection is powerful. In today's episode, Dr. Terry Sellers discusses the significant impact of smoking on recovery from addiction. He explains statistical data that highlights the correlation between quitting smoking and improved recovery outcomes, emphasizing that individuals who quit smoking are statistically more likely to remain sober. Let's jump into today's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 179. Happy New Year's, Doc.
Yeah, thanks.
It's 2026, baby.
Yeah,
We're rolling into the new year. Yeah.
It's my first podcast of the new year, so that's fun. Did you have a show last week?
No.
Okay, so it's our first podcast of the year. That's great.
It's the first. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. How was your Christmas?
It was good. I had some of my grandkids over. Well, we saw most of my grandkids that day at some point. They weren't all there for the opening of the presents and that everything,
Right.
but we saw everybody that day, and it was overall pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on. I had a good little Christmas. I hope our listeners had a safe and sober Christmas. I put out a vulnerable episode in 178. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it, but
Good. Yeah.
But yeah, I had a great Christmas. It was fun to kick off new traditions and just spend it with me and Mandy here at the house. And so hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas.
Yeah. How about New Year's?
I had a good New Year. I went to the University of Utah's Las Vegas Bowl versus Nebraska.
Bowl, right.
I was there. Mandy got us great tickets. That was kind of like one of my big Christmas presents, which she knows me so well. Like that, I love that kind of stuff. I try to go to one game a year, and that was our game this year.
Yeah, I do too. But that was a good one to go to. Utes look pretty good, right?
Yeah. Nebraska came out and punched us kind of in the face, but and I felt like the Utes were sleeping a little bit.
Yeah.
But that woke us up, and I went in to use the men's room at halftime, and there was a guy like, "Oh, Nebraska, this is going to be a good matchup. Looking forward to a good game." And I turn around and I'm like, "Dude, it's going to turn into a slaughter fest in the third quarter." And he's like, "You really think so?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. We are just now waking up. Like we just showed up."
Yeah. I think there's a little. I think you suffered from the same thing that BYU can suffer from also, and that is. The Utes were really close, as was BYU, really close to getting into the college football playoffs. A lot of people think BYU is the very first team out. And if BYU is the first team out, Utah might have been the third team out or something really close.
Yeah.
And you can suffer a
I would say
letdown.
BYU, Notre Dame, University of Utah.
Yeah, I agree.
And whatever order you want to put them in doesn't matter because they were all out. But yeah.
I agree. But then a lot of times when people show up to a bowl game that's not the college football playoffs and they got snubbed by the college football playoffs, they got to wake up a little bit first.
Yeah, they have like an emotional hangover. They're like, meh.
Yeah, this isn't as good as we wanted. Right. BYU did not actually come out in their bowl game. They didn't come out with a letdown. They played pretty well.
They played Georgia Tech, and those guys had a great year.
Yeah, they had a great year. They were 9-0 at one point in their year, and it was a good bowl game, and we played pretty well. So, and we were down. We didn't have our starting running. We didn't have. As far as running backs go, both guys that we had available had a total of 10 carries on the season. Like two guys together had 10 carries on the season.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have anybody at running back with any experience. And Bear Bachmeier, who's a decent runner, had a foot injury, so he didn't run very much. So our running game wasn't good, but we passed it really well and won. So both our teams won their bowl games.
I love this, dude. We got to like do a spin-off on this and just do a sports podcast. I swear, I love it. I love just sitting and chatting with you about that. Today is episode 179. We're going to get into the benefits of quitting smoking when you're stepping into recovery.
Yeah.
And
I like the topic. It's going to be a little controversial because not everybody agrees on this.
Sure, but I think that we're going to keep it factual and just give them the statistics, right?
Right.
And it's like whether you agree with it or not,
they're facts.
The thing I love about... You can't
argue with the facts. You can argue with the sentiment. You can argue with whether it's for you or not. You can't argue with the facts.
Totally. And one of the things that I love is me and you can give our opinions, but typically whatever data you're bringing in is statistical analysis.
Right.
And so feel how you want to feel. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. AKA Jay-Z.
I like it. I don't know Jay-Z very well, so turns out I'm old.
We're boys,
don't
dude.
do hip-hop.
We're boys.
But I get in these kind of discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time about, well, sure, discussions with patients all the time Well, yeah, but that doesn't relate to me. Well, I can't swear it does relate to you. Statistically, if you follow those numbers, you have a greater chance of being clean and sober. That absolutely applies to you.
Yeah.
I get that you're not a statistic, you're not a number.
You're a human being in front of me right now.
Right. But if you want the greatest chances of being clean and sober, you follow the statistics. You do the things that have been proven to be helpful. Right. So anyway, we'll get into that.
Sure. Yeah, we're going to dive into it. Before all that, though, we want to give you guys some trusted resources. Today's trusted resources, the first is going to be Diamond Detox. You've heard on, if you're a first-time listener to our podcast, and episode 179 is where you want to kick it off, go listen to previous episodes. We love Diamond Detox. They do a very professional job. They have staff with all the credentials, licensed nurses, physicians who have board certified in addiction medicine, from what I understand. AKA the doc over here might be one of the people on staff. Just great people. They do a really good job. They're a trusted resource on this. Private rooms, very, very, very private. That's, I think, one of the biggest things that I love about it is you wouldn't know that it was a detox unless you know. You can reach out to them at 385-988-5332. That's 385-988-5332. Or check out their website at diamonddetox.com.
I'll tell you what I like about Diamond Detox that I see from the outside. Yeah, I am loosely affiliated with them. I don't see patients day to day or anything like that, but I am on staff. They're always looking at ways to improve.
Absolutely.
They don't just sit back and here's what we do and this is what we're going to do. And they're always looking for ways to make their service a little better. So, and
I love the fact that they have most detoxes, from my experience. Let me say that. From my experience, most detoxes don't have like case management and like resources to really help get people to the next level. And I know Diamond Detox does. They have specific case managers assigned to clients, and their whole job is to help them contact treatment centers, whether it's inpatient, outpatient, client-centered care, whatever the client is wanting. And I think that's very respectable, because other companies could look at that and go, that doesn't make us any money. Right. That's not a return customer in 4 weeks if they go somewhere and they're getting help.
Right.
So they're doing it for the right reasons. Also, transportation, they'll come pick you up from an Uber.
Right.
Tell me other detoxes that do that, or they'll take you straight to whatever treatment center. So there's a lot of reasons. And I'm glad that you brought up some organic stuff on why we love them.
Yep.
The other one's going to be the ranch. Renaissance Ranch, baby.
Ranch.
That's our new trusted resource moving into 2026. The thing I love about the ranch is it was established forever ago.
Oh yeah,
like 2001.
I don't remember, but it's been a long time.
It is the oldest, I'm pretty sure, the oldest standing treatment center in Idaho and in Utah. So it's nice that they've been around for a long time, right? Just because established care, the reputation that they have in the community is really good. They have all the thing that I love, the gender specific care. Mm-hmm. Like the guys are with guys, girls are with girls. They have all the different levels of care: residential, outpatient, sober living. The biggest thing that I love about the ranch is their alumni. I think that they set the gold standard for their alumni interaction and their alumni base, because they've been established since 2001. They have 25 years of alumni, people that have gone through and are in recovery still, and they come back and help those who are trying to get where they're at, frankly.
It's its own special, and they sometimes, particularly on the men's side, they call themselves a band of brothers. Yeah. But it's a very strong sort of association. If you're from if you went to treatment at Renaissance Ranch, you have a whole large group of people that you can affiliate with, and it's that part's really cool. I agree.
Yeah. If you're interested in checking out Renaissance Ranch, you can contact them by calling them 801-308-8898. 801-308-8898, or you can check out their website at renaissanceranch.com to learn more.
Whatever it is.
Last but not least, Rise Up Supplements. For those of you who have tried a nootropic and are fans of the nootropic supplements, check out Rise Up Supplements. It is the best supplement that you've never heard of. It's a small company. We're in our infancy. I'm owner and founder of it. Doc's got his hands in everything. He's had his hands in it as far as formations and stuff, and at least Terry Sellers approved.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right?
Terry Sellers used.
Terry Sellers used?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I use it. I took some this morning before I got in the car to drive.
Which one?
Huh?
The Mindful Mood or the Mind Shift?
No, Mind Shift.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, a lot of really good, lot of powerful ingredients. New Pept is a big ingredient in there. I'm not going to geek out too much. Adrafinil is another one. You know, it has L-theanine. It's got a lot of really good,
You got some
ingredients.
You got some hair off the back of a lion, didn't you? Oh no, that's an herb. Never mind.
Mindful mood. Yeah, the key ingredient in that is lion's mane.
Yeah.
So check out their website. It's riseupsups.com, riseups.com. At checkout, punch in promo code podcast20 in all caps to save yourself 20% off your entire order. We appreciate all of those companies and everything that they do to support our podcast.
Yeah, give them a try. It might just change how you feel.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it does me. So
talk to me about the you were saying that you have some clients that give you some pushback on when you counsel them or talk to them about quitting smoking at the same time they're getting into recovery. Let's dive into that.
Well, and I talk to every client about it. Every client that smokes, I talk to about it. And I think every physician should, for a number of reasons, one of which we're for sure going to discuss today, but that's not the only reason. We know that smoking kills people.
Absolutely.
Lots of people die from the effects of tobacco in the United States. It causes a whole lot of mortality. We know it causes lung cancer. We know it can cause head and neck cancers. We know it can cause all kinds of respiratory issues, bronchitis and asthma and things like that. And so,
can I jump in real fast?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to just make it very clear that when I say this, I come from a place of non-judgment. I don't judge people. If people want to smoke, they're grown adults. They are entitled to do what they want to do. But especially it seems like around this time of year when cold and flu and, you know, the winter time.
Sure.
I sit in group and I'm running groups and people are
hacking their lungs out.
And I hate to say it, but it's mostly the people who heavy smoke or heavy vape.
Sure.
You know, you're sitting in there and you try to go longer than an hour and all of a sudden whatever it is starts coming alive and it's starting to, and you literally hear people, it sounds like they're hawking up a lung. You know, you have to pause group and be like, are you okay? Do you need to get a drink of water? Do you need
that's one of the things that, so just inhaling smoke, we're going to talk about smoking per se, but just inhaling smoke, no matter what the source of the smoke is, just inhaling smoke damages the epithelial cells that line the respiratory tract. That damage to the epithelial cells makes you more susceptible to any other type of infection, or you've already got damaged tissue. Damaged tissue gets infected way more easily than non-damaged tissue does. And so smoking can cause that, which can lead to the respiratory infections. It can lead to the asthma. It can lead to the bronchitis. It can lead to pneumonia, all of that sort of stuff at higher rates in people that smoke.
So I just want to say, like, I come at it from the point of that I care about the person and want them to get good sleep and want them to be healthier.
Right. And I'd say the same thing. As a physician, I think it's my job to instruct people the best way for them to be healthy, not to force them to do it. That's not my job. My job is to lay it out and say, here's the things that'll make you more healthy. And then you, as an autonomous adult, you get to choose whether you're going to do that or not.
Yeah.
But I believe it's my job to tell everyone who smokes that there is a healthier way to live.
And I think what we're going to learn diving into the data is statistically, you have a higher chance of staying in recovery.
Yes.
Not having a relapse or a remission from the disease.
Right. And there has been data in the literature about this for a very long time. And I've got some articles that I show to patients sometimes if they're questioning me. But the study that I have today that I wanted us to review was published in 2025. It's a new study.
That was so long ago, dude.
Yeah.
That was like,
well, that was a couple weeks
9 days ago.
Yeah. But in literature terms, that's not very long ago. And some of my studies that I have are from, 1975.
Sure.
Many of my patients weren't even alive. And so they don't trust that kind of stuff. And I get it. I get why you don't trust a study from 50 years ago. This study was published last year.
Yeah. And I was being facetious when 2025 is very, very recent.
You're not going to, there's been very few publications in 2026 so far. You can't get a 2026 study on very many subjects yet. But anyway, I wanted to lead off with just some statistics. Okay. somewhere between 11 and 12% of adults in the United States of America smoke cigarettes.
11 to 12%.
Yes. Now, that's down quite dramatically. 1965, 42% of adults smoked cigarettes in the United States.
It was a thing back then, right?
And now
Marlboro
we're down to
Man.
11 to 12%. That's a dramatic drop.
Totally.
And I would not have necessarily expected the drop to be that high. That's a big drop and I know it's a long time. 65 was 60 years ago, but still, that's a dramatic drop.
I can remember like my grandma talking about how her doctor was smoking when she would go in to see him, and how she hated the smell of cigarettes. It gave her headaches, like really bad headaches. And I can remember as being a little kid, like not even double digit numbers, probably 7, 8 years old, hearing my grandma complain to my dad about her doctor smoking in the office as he's doing whatever, you know?
When I was in my residency in the 1990s, we had one of my attending physicians smoke. Now, he was old. He was, when I was doing residency, I'll bet he was 70 years old. He was very close to retirement, but he smoked and you could tell, and he was, but it wasn't nearly as common then, because in 65, 42% of adults smoked. That means you would guess that maybe a little bit less than that of doctors, because education and smoking rates do go hand in hand. We'll talk about that a little bit. But if 42% of the population smokes, then 25% of doctors probably smoked at that point. You know?
I think the point I was trying to make is it was very, very common back then. You think of Marlboro Man, you think of the movies, even doctors in doctors' offices were smoking. We've come a long way. So it's good that we're down to the percentage.
But why do you think it's less now?
Because people are vaping or do nicotine pouches.
Okay, there's a lot of different
gum.
substitutes to smoking these days that there weren't back then. That's definitely a reason for sure. Remember, you're probably not old enough to remember all this, but advertising used to be way less subtle, way more in your face, and they would advertise directly at, oh my gosh, Virginia Slims. They'd advertise right at women, like they had made a cigarette just for women and trying to get. And so the advertising was a lot more aggressive.
I'm not too young to remember that. I remember Joe Camel.
Oh yeah, Joe Camel, the Marlboro Man.
Marlboro Man.
Right.
I can remember being a kid and thinking it was cool and taking sticky notes and rolling them up like they were cigarettes. And when I would play like Cowboys and Indians, if I was the cowboy, I'd have a rolled up sticky note as my cigarette, because I watched John Wayne in the movies doing it. And
remember the old candy cigarettes too? If that's not, you may not remember them. Okay, there was a candy. You didn't light it up.
Right.
It was a piece of candy. You sucked on it and it tasted decent. And man, that's all just marketing, trying to get kids used to having this in there. And so the marketing is less aggressive these days. They
kind of outlawed it, right?
I don't know that you can advertise smoking on TV anymore.
I think they outlawed it.
Yeah. You can
I
still
think in the 90s they outlawed it.
I think you can still do it in print maybe, but I may be wrong on that. You for sure can't do it on TV anymore.
Yeah.
So that's it. One of the other reasons is public education. We didn't always have warnings on cigarette boxes that say cigarette smoking may be damaging to your health. That's a semi-recent thing. It's not recent, like 10 years, but it's in 65. I don't think they had that. I don't think they had a U.S. Surgeon General's warning on cigarette packs in 65.
I want to say in the 1990s, they hit them pretty hard. And I want to say TV ads went away. And then I want to say in the early 2000s, they made them start to put warning signs on the boxes.
The other thing that the decrease is due to, you already mentioned, vaping, which is particularly prominent in younger people.
Mm-hmm.
Vaping is not nearly as common in elderly populations. It's more in the younger population. In the 18 to 29-year-old age group, people in that age group are more likely to vape than they are to smoke. Now, again,
have you seen that documentary about Juul?
Yes.
How they were targeting.
Yes.
Apparently they were like targeting, teenagers because they want their generation of what, big tobacco had back in its day. So let me ask you this.
There's lots of instances, you can ask me in just one sec, but there's lots of instances of these companies target the people that are young because they'll be lifelong customers, and they target people that they think will smoke heavily. Same thing happens in alcohol. Alcohol advertisements are not directed to the guy that drinks a couple of beers on the weekend. They're directed at alcoholics, because the guy that drinks a 30-pack a day makes them way more money than the guy that drinks 2 beers in a weekend.
Yeah. No,
But
totally.
Go ahead. Let me ask you.
I was going to say, one of the things, like I'll totally admit, like, so when I was homeless, strung out on heroin, I smoked cigarettes because it covered up the smell of body odor. I hated the way it tasted, but also when you're under the influence, like you don't really pay attention to a lot of stuff. That turned into, it was disgusting to me. So, but I fit into the category that switched to vaping, and I vaped for a really long time. And then as I started in my recovery, getting back into working out and being healthy, I remember distinctly one day I went and I was like, okay, I'm going to just do 10 minutes on the stair stepper. Like 10 minutes should be easy. That'll be a good starting point. I'll work up to 25 or 30 minutes.
Sure.
I got on that stair stepper and I couldn't even make it 2 minutes.
Yeah, 10 steps.
Because
not 10 minutes.
Like my lungs hurt.
Right.
So the question that I've taken a really long time to get to establish some history is, do you think one is better than the other?
Yeah. So I'm not sure that we have time to get into that. There is definitely a public perception that vaping is better for
Healthier.
you than smoking cigarettes. And it's a good question. I just don't know that we have time to tackle the entire subject today, but it's a good question. But I want to point out, cigarette smoking is highly nuanced, and it's not just one thing. People think of cigarette smoking and they think of nicotine. The question is, if cigarette smoking is just a way to get into nicotine, then vaping and smoking are the exact same thing. But that's not all smoking is. You don't get cancer from nicotine. That's not what gives you the cancer.
Right.
It's something in the burning plant material that has nothing to do with the nicotine. So when you think of smoking, don't just think of, well, somebody's getting nicotine. They're also inhaling cancer-causing things.
Carcinogens.
Yes, that damage lung tissue and respiratory tissue. And it's more than just getting nicotine. Whereas vaping, we're reasonably certain vaping causes some difficulties in the respiratory tract, but it doesn't have quite the same rates of like lung cancer as smoking does. So in some way they're different. And
the team at Diamond Detox is compassionate, helpful, and trained to support every step of the healing journey. Your loved one's path to a healthier, happier life starts with a free and easy 20 to 30-minute assessment over the phone, or a few questions submitted online on the Diamond Detox website. Assessments and admissions occur 7 days a week, depending on availability. To begin the path to recovery, visit diamonddetox.com or call 385-988-5332.
I just want to point out this. Remember, I said 11 to 12% of adults currently smoke. 18% of 18 to 29-year-olds vape. So the vaping rates in 18 to 29-year-olds are actually higher than the smoking rates in the general population. So now the smoking rate in the 18 to 29-year-old age group is not as high as the general population, but that's because 18% of them are vaping already.
There's no question that they're not targeting young people. I mean, when you see all the flavors, man, it's like,
right.
You know, when I quit vaping, I was doing very little.
Strawberry flavored. You don't get that in cigarettes, right?
Yeah, when I quit vaping, I honestly missed some of the flavors, 0 calorie, than I did the nicotine.
Right. One of the things the one thing about smoking is menthol, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
But you don't get flavors like caramel macchiato or something like flavored cigarettes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The best one was Fruit Loops and milk. The best vape juice was. I'm not helping.
Don't know
here,
that I've ever heard of that. But that's because I never vape.
It literally tasted like Fruit Loops and milk.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Demographics of the study. The people in the study. First of all, not this isn't the study yet. This is the general population. Okay. Men smoke at greater rates than women do in the United States. 13% of adult males and only 10% of adult females smoke. Ethnicity, smoking is higher in Native Americans and Alaskans, lower in Asians. This is talking about the United States now.
Right.
Okay. Education, those that have a college degree have lower smoking rates.
Okay. So there's a correlation between education and smoking.
Also income. Those with lower income and those who are uninsured smoke at higher rates than those who have a higher income or have insurance.
That's problematic.
Interesting, isn't it?
Problematic.
Okay, menthol that I just mentioned. Menthol is extremely popular among African Americans, and most people don't know this, but menthol cigarettes are harder to quit than non-menthol cigarettes.
Why is that?
Something about, I don't know, something about the menthol.
It's probably why I miss the Fruit Loops and milk, man.
Well,
maybe menthol to an African American is like Fruit Loops and milk to a white boy. It's just the taste of it is attractive.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions now.
Let's
Take a
get it.
guess. Smoking rates are highest in what state? And I have 3 states listed here. If you get one of them, you're going to be awfully lucky.
New York.
Good guess. No. Think more rural areas, probably.
California.
Oh, terrible guess.
Is it? Is
Yeah.
California low?
California is one of the 2 lowest states in the United States.
Get out of here.
Guess what the other lowest state in the United States is?
Utah.
Utah's the lowest smoking rates in the United States of America, and California is second. The 3 highest are West Virginia.
Okay.
So mostly countryside, mostly not big cities. Tennessee. Not sure what to make
I was
of the
gonna
Tennessee
say.
one.
I was gonna say if I
could
would have
see
guessed one
Mississippi
more,
over
it would have
Tennessee.
been Tennessee.
I could see Mississippi over Tennessee, but Tennessee is one of the 3
That
highest.
doesn't surprise me. In Tennessee, it's country music, it's bars.
Sure.
It kind of goes hand in hand
Okay.
with like that scene.
Yeah,
I feel like
maybe.
know.
And then Louisiana. Those are the 3 highest states: is West Virginia, Tennessee, Louisiana. 2 lowest, Utah and California. Okay. Smoking rates are higher in divorced or separated people over married people. 10% of married people smoke, and 17% of divorced or separated people smoke.
It's because they ain't kissing nobody,
Well,
man.
that's exactly right.
It's because they ain't kissing nobody.
And-
You ever kissed a woman that smoked?
No, I have not.
Man, it's like kissing an ashtray.
Well, I don't.
Whoa.
I've never kissed an ashtray either. So. And then smoking rates are much higher in LGBTQ community versus heterosexual community.
Interesting.
Okay. Now let's get to the study. The study was titled "Cigarette Smoking During Recovery from Substance Use Disorders." Study was published in August of 2025, so very recent.
Very recent.
Now, they point out at the beginning of the study that smoking rates are also higher, much higher, in patients who have substance use disorder versus those who do not. Approximately, again, the general population smoking rates 11 to 12% of adults. Those in treatment for substance use disorder, guess what percentage of those smoke?
60.
Good guess. 65 to 87% of adults in treatment for substance use disorder smoke.
How I got to 60% is like I think of like when I run group and people go on break, you see about 3/4 to maybe a little less than 3/4 get up and go out, which they're going out to smoke instead of the bathroom or their phone.
Well, and guess the other thing about that, if you want to mention that thing, is that's a big social time for patients in treatment.
Oh,
so
yeah.
even the non-smokers go out and hang out in those groups sometimes and are tempted to smoke because that's kind of what the group is doing when they're hanging out outside of treatment.
Right.
Sure, you can go out there and hang out with the smokers and not smoke, but most people want to fit in. They broke it down by substances, actually.
Yeah, really?
So 65 to 87% of those with substance use disorder in treatment smoke. If they're in treatment for opiates, about 79% of those patients will smoke.
Wow.
Stimulants, 76%, but alcohol, only 60%. So that's interesting.
I would not have guessed that.
I would not either, because smoking and alcohol go hand in hand, but it lower rates among people being treated for alcohol use disorder than those being treated for stimulant or opiate use disorder. Okay. Over half of patients with substance use disorder who smoke die from tobacco-related causes.
Wow. Over half.
Often before the age of 60.
Man, I'm glad that you brought this topic
so
up.
Smoking
man.
kills people with substance use disorder probably at greater rates than it kills people without substance use disorder, partly because, first of all, more people are smoking with substance use disorder. But the other part is, I mean, they've got a deadly disease. And I have seen statistics before that if you have been diagnosed with a substance use disorder, whatever it is, alcohol use disorder, opiate use disorder, your chances of dying from anything else are lower than they are of dying from that particular use disorder. So people with opiate use disorder, their most likely cause of death is opiate use disorder, not car accidents, not heart attacks, not cancer, not none of that stuff. It's the substance use disorder. And they're saying now, I wonder if they're calculating tobacco related deaths in that, but they're saying over half the patients with substance use disorder who smoke die from the smoking.
Yeah.
So it's more deadly. Smoking is more deadly than the substance use disorder.
Yeah, the
case.
sequential treatment process teaches us the first thing that you need to work on, and the first thing you need to address is the thing that's going to kill them the fastest. And you're right. Typically, if you have somebody who has co-occurring disorders, right? Somebody comes in for opiate use disorder, but they also struggle with bipolar.
Right.
You're going to treat the opiate use disorder because that's going to kill them a lot quicker than the bipolar is going to.
Sure.
I just wanted to sound smart there. Did I sound smart?
That was smart. Yeah.
Sequential treatment process.
Yeah. Except
that came from the recesses of my brain.
Well, put it back there.
Boom. You didn't like it?
I loved it. All I would say is in relation to that is also the same excuse that people use for not quitting smoking in treatment, because they're saying, yeah, smoking is not going to kill me as fast as opiates is. Yes, you're right.
But based on that study, you're a much higher risk of dying from...
It will kill you.
Yeah.
And it may kill you. You may be more likely to die from the smoking than you are the opiate use disorder. But if you do die from the opiate use disorder, it's not likely to be around the age of 60. It's more likely to be sooner than
Absolutely
the smoking. Anyway. Now, while smoking rates have decreased dramatically in the general population, so like I said, 11 to 12% now, 1965, 42%. So dramatic drops.
Oh, yeah.
They have remained stubbornly high in substance use disorder patients. There has not been that drop in substance use disorder patients. If it's 65 to 87% of substance use disorder patients, it couldn't have been much higher than that in 1965 because there's not much room to go higher than that. So why are smoking rates so high in substance use disorder patients? There's a bunch of reasons for this, but give me some ideas.
Well, first of all, the first thing that comes to my mind is nicotine is a very powerful chemical. Nicotine is one of the most addictive chemicals. It releases dopamine in the midbrain.
Supposedly, nicotine gram for gram is more addictive than any other substance on the planet.
Yeah.
Now, we don't get a ton of grams when we smoke a cigarette, but it's a very addictive substance, no question.
Yeah.
But stay on that same vein, because you're heading down a road that's got some other answers too.
Yeah. So, for me, and I think I worked with clients for a long time, not nowhere near as long as you, but for me, it feels like I've worked with them for quite a while.
Are you calling me old?
In the most graceful way possible. And here's what I've noticed. Anhedonia kicks clients' butts.
Lack of ability to enjoy things,
Yes. And so having nicotine, it's a chemical. It's a substance that's addictive. It's a substance that makes you feel good, right? It makes you more alert. It's a stimulant, so you're a little bit more motivated. It can also help with cognitive function, so you're a little bit more focused. I think that they look at it like, the heroin, they cognitively understand the heroin's going to lead to an overdose and kill me, and so they can get that. But when somebody's slowly dying from something, they don't take it as serious, and it feels really good, and they're already struggling with anhedonia. So I think,
okay, you're onto something.
Okay,
let me sort of feed you down a direction. But first of all, let me stay with the direction you're going for a second. You've been on this earth how long? 42 years.
40 years next month.
40 years. Sorry, I was guessing, and I'm sorry I overguessed.
You're good.
40 years. How many people you do not know who have died from an opiate overdose? And obviously you don't know that answer, but it's going to be,
close to a dozen.
Sure. And I probably know 50, maybe more. How many people you know have died from lung cancer? I know 2. And one of them didn't smoke. Ever.
I don't know.
Didn't smoke a single cigarette.
I don't know a single one.
No, my aunt died from small cell carcinoma of the lung and never smoked a cigarette a day in her life.
Wow.
And was very healthy. Was a runner. like crazy. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, and honestly, not just to like play into this and be a yes man. I can't tell you one person that I can think of in this moment that I know that died from.
Yeah. So these people that think, well, the opiates are going to kill me quicker, they're correct in this, right?
Sure.
The opiates are a deadly, deadly drug, but so is smoking. It's just slower. That's it. If over half of patients that smoke that have substance use disorder are going to die from the tobacco, it's pretty deadly still.
Well, and it brings me back to you might not die quickly, but I'm telling you, those individuals that I have hawking up a lung in my group therapy class, to me, when I look across and I look at them, I really do look at them with empathy. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but I do look at them with empathy, and I'm like, that can't be fun.
Right.
Like that's got to be miserable.
Well, you just mentioned you can't get on the treadmill. You can't get on the Stairmaster. Like you can get on it, but you can't stay on it for any length of time.
We're sitting in a circle talking.
Right. So it just makes your life more difficult.
That can't be.
Okay. You're right about the nicotine thing.
Wait, can you say that again?
You were headed. You might have been correct about something.
One more time. Just feels good.
Well, you were right about this, but I wanted you to go in a slightly different direction. But you were headed the right way for sure. Nicotine. Well, first of all, I want to go with comorbidity. So one of the reasons why smoking is so high among substance use disorder patients is many substance use disorder patients, more substance use disorder patients than the general population, have a psychiatric illness.
Yeah.
And so mental illness is strongly linked to smoking. Nicotine does alleviate some psychiatric symptoms. Particularly, when do people smoke the most?
In the morning?
Okay, that's not where I'm headed, but when people are calm or when they're stressed?
Oh, stressed for sure.
Because nicotine alleviates a little bit of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Nicotine does reduce some psychiatric symptoms. And so that's why, given the fact that substance use disorder patients have a higher rate of having psychiatric symptoms and nicotine works for psychiatric symptoms, that's another reason why smoking might be higher in those groups. Okay.
That makes sense.
Get to the study. Cohort study. They used a national cohort. So it was people from all over the nation, United States adults, all with a history of substance use disorder. And they took them from another study, which was much larger, measuring a whole lot of other things. But that study was called the PATH, P-A-T-H, PATH study. And it's the Population Assessment of Tobacco and Health Study. And they took a subgroup of these folks. They measured an outcome measure called GAIN, which stands for the Global Assessment of Individual Needs. And there is a short screener and a substance use disorder subscale in that. That's what they used to administer this test to people. There were two groups in the study. One group had high lifetime symptoms on this GAIN test, high lifetime symptoms related to substance use disorder, but no symptoms in the last year. That's one group. So they had high lifetime symptoms, but no symptoms in the last year, which was indicative of them being in sustained remission.
Yeah. So they're in recovery for at least a year.
Right. The second group had high lifetime symptoms, but also had symptoms in the past year. Okay. So they're comparing the no symptoms in the last year. So patients in recovery versus patients not in recovery.
Long-term versus acute.
Right.
Don't judge me too hard here. I am going to put in a nicotine pouch.
Oh,
you should be proud of me. Listen, I set a goal last year to cut down on my nicotine use.
And you can't get through a podcast with that one?
And hey, I've gone from 6 milligrams down to 3, and my goal in 2026 is to be completely off of nicotine altogether.
Guess what we like to measure in the rooms? Progress, not perfection, my friend. From 6 to 3 is tremendous progress.
I can tell it's not good for I know I really can. I can tell it's not good for like my throat and in my gums. Like I'm not an idiot.
I'll tell you the other thing that I think it's not necessarily helpful for, and I could be completely wrong on this, but based on science of addiction, it releases dopamine from your midbrain, which makes releasing dopamine from your midbrain from other activities a little harder. Like you may not enjoy golf as much if you're using nicotine.
Oh, I can't play golf without nicotine.
Yeah, but that's because the nicotine gives you a big rush of dopamine, whereas you get a smaller rush of dopamine from golf if you're so I'm going to enjoy golf tomorrow because of the golf more than you do.
Totally.
You're going
I
to
get
enjoy
that.
golf because you got nicotine in.
Yeah. That's part of the
It does make it
anhedonia,
a
though,
little,
right?
right.
It's part of the anhedonia is like I'm not enjoying it as much without the substance.
Okay.
But eventually I'll get there.
Okay. So
give us the results of the.
So as far as results go, first of all, the study included 2,652 adults. So a decent sized study. It wasn't,
That's a lot.
It wasn't 100 people in each group. It was thousands. 41%, 41.9% of the subjects were female, meaning, 58%, 58.1% were males.
So majority male.
Slightly more males than females. Also reflects substance use disorder, like more males than females, and also males. Well, that's not true. I was going to say something else.
But you did say that more males smoke than females do, so it does reflect that as well. So so far, I'm liking the study.
Mean age of the study was 39.4 years of age. 17% of the participants were Hispanic. 13.9% were non-Hispanic blacks. 63.1% were non-Hispanic white, and 6% were other. So those were Asians and Native Americans and
Pacific Islander.
Pacific Islanders. Thank you. They followed up with these patients every year and administered this test called GAIN, which measured how many substance use disorder symptoms they had, right? So they got a test from these guys every year, and they followed them for an 8-year total period. 2 4-year periods, 2 different 4-year periods, right?
So 8 years total.
Right.
2 4-year periods.
Right.
That's a long time.
They showed that those that quit smoking had a statistically greater chance of being still in recovery the following year. So if you quit smoking in a calendar year, a 30 to 40% increased chance of still being in recovery the next year. 30 to 40% greater than those that didn't quit smoking the year before.
Right.
So it increased recovery rates. In a second sort of statistical measurement, what they found out was overall for the test, this is the final result right here.
Okay.
Overall, this is a statement made in the study, not by me. Okay. I quoted this statement exactly. Overall, quitting smoking increased the odds of substance use disorder recovery up to 42-fold, meaning you are 42 times more likely to still be sober if you quit smoking. 42 times.
Yeah. No, that's significant.
Incredibly high.
That's significant.
Well, that's incredibly high.
Yeah.
That means if it's 42-fold greater, if somebody quits smoking, they have a certain chance of being in recovery the next year. And this is overall, not just the next year. This was through years and years, right? This is
up
through
to 8
8
years.
years of the study, right?
Yeah.
It would take 42 patients to have 42 patients that didn't quit smoking to have one guy still in recovery the next year.
Wow.
So that's just incredible.
That
42-fold is incredible. That conclusions that I would make from that obviously is, and I say this to every single patient, there's been this long-standing belief that you should tackle one thing at a time.
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's old school thinking. It's not necessarily all wrong, but this shows that if you quit smoking, you have a greater chance of staying in recovery. It doesn't matter the timing of the smoking or the quitting. But the truth is, the sooner you quit, obviously, the greater chance you have of being still in recovery.
And that's why it's an important topic to this podcast. Just to razz you a little bit and give you a little bit of grief. I can see the comments now. Dude in BYU outfit lectures.
Sure.
Lectures people who are trying to.
Well, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life, so I get that, right?
Right.
I do understand it's incredibly addictive, maybe more so than. I think I've told this story on here before, but I used to be, when Steps Recovery Center first opened, I was their medical director, and we were a non-smoking facility at the time. And we had, to my knowledge, now as the medical director and actually the clinical director for the first 3 years that Steps was open. To my knowledge, we caught 2 people sneaking drugs and or alcohol into treatment in those 3 years. Now, the fact that we caught 2 means there was 20 or 50, or I don't know how many.
Times it by 5. Probably.
We caught 2. We caught 50 people trying to sneak nicotine products into treatment.
Yeah.
people who were willing to potentially sacrifice and lose their chance at treatment because they wouldn't
Or
give up
freedom
smoking.
if they're
Right.
in, the judicial system.
I mean, to me, that's always been a eye-opener as to how addictive the stuff really is.
Yeah. And I think the message that we're sending is if you're a listener of this podcast and you're in early recovery, we want you to have the best chance possible at maintaining your recovery and having long-term recovery, which is greater than 12 months. So that should mean something to you. 42%, you're 42% more likely to be in recovery next year if you quit smoking, vaping,
You'll see the guy or the girl, you'll see the patient coming
using
into treatment.
Zins like me.
Huh?
Using Zins like me. Nicotine's nicotine.
So in reference to that, I think that's a interesting topic that we should discuss at some point, but probably not on this podcast today. But in reference to that, I don't know of any studies that specifically talk about quitting nicotine and recovery rates, right? This was quitting smoking. And we don't know that the whole mechanism behind quitting smoking is no dopamine release from the midbrain from nicotine, but it could be. It could be that Zins are about as likely to make you relapse as cigarettes are, but there is no data to that point. So we can't really say that.
I'm going to take it as a challenge to get through my goal of in 2026.
It's a great challenge.
Quitting nicotine.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
It's just so expensive.
So you've seen people come into treatment that are kind of motivated. They really do want to quit, but they're kind of iffy and they're in that stage of change that we call contemplation. They're not really sure if they want to quit, but they think so. But then you'll see somebody come in occasionally who is at their rock bottom and they are desperate and they're willing to do anything that anyone tells them to do so that they can get into recovery and stay there. For that patient, quitting smoking is a great idea. Now, it's a great idea for these other patients too, but they're harder to convince because they're not as desperate. So again, my job as a physician is to lay out, here's the best way to do it. Your job as a patient, you get to decide which is going to work for you. But if you're going to ask me what's the best way for me to stay clean and sober, it's going to for sure include quitting smoking.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. I appreciate you bringing that data and that information, and it's a good topic. I can remember years ago when I was in the men's recovery center, I can remember one of the counselors who was in recovery. He was one of the only clinicians who were in recovery. And so, of course, he was our most favorite because the whole relatability thing, whatever.
Right. He's one of us.
But he said, his exact words were, you have a much higher chance of staying sober if you quit smoking than if you don't. And of course, even back then, people were like, well, one thing at a time. Oh, this is already right. Sure. All the gripes and complaints and everything. And I just remember him saying, you're already miserable. You might as well just knock all of them out.
Yeah.
Why leave one lingering? You're already miserable. Like, what's one more thing? Right. And so I can see from that perspective that, yeah, it's a good idea. I can also see from the perspective for the individual that's like, fentanyl is going to kill me tomorrow in 5 minutes. But yeah, it was good data.
I would say to that person, first of all, what's most likely to kill you quickest? Absolutely fentanyl, for sure. But what's the best way to quit fentanyl? Also quitting smoking.
Yeah.
Right.
Well said. Well said.
So, all right. Well,
Doc, what's your goals for 2026? I've tried to make this episode about me and saying about my nicotine goal, but what's some goals that you got this new year coming up, buddy?
Most of the things that I've thought about as far as New Year's resolutions revolve around grandchildren.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not really much of a kids guy. Like I knew going into med school that pediatrics was not for me. I think I've told that story before, but pediatrics is not for me. I just don't have the temperament for it. I don't love being around kids as much as some people do. Now, when they're your grandkids, it's different.
Sure.
I for sure love my grandkids to death and have a good time with them. I have some really funny, kids are funny, but my goals are to be a little bit more involved in their lives than I have been in the past. I can get a little inside myself and just start thinking about me and just taking care of my stuff and not. So, as far as one thing, I've got a grandson So I have 3 children. My daughter passed away from a drug and alcohol related death, and she had a kid, but she gave that kid up for adoption. So we don't really see that kid, but I have 2 sons that both have children. So my oldest son has 3 kids from his first marriage and 2 kids from a second marriage. The oldest kid from the second marriage is a son, and he is on the autistic spectrum disorder. He's on the spectrum, but he just loves trains. He loves trains.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me
Everything
about
about trains. So one of my resolutions is every Monday now I get together with with that grandson. He's 5 years old, and we're working on building a big old train setup in the house. And we just started this last Monday. We went out and we spent 4 hours, and we went to Lowe's and we bought a couple of sawhorses to put the thing on. And then the easiest thing to put those on, I would have bought plywood, but apparently they have this foam board that's easier and lighter. It's got to be kind of thick because it's a little more flimsy than wood, but 3-inch foam board. And so we bought an 4x8 piece of foam board and 2 sawhorses to put that on.
Nice.
Then we went to the hobby store and we bought some track and we bought an engine. And now we're going to do every Monday, we're going to get together, and, part of it's going to be building. Part of it's going to be maybe watching some videos. Part of it's going to be, frankly, a lot of it we're going to buy secondhand. There's a lot of stuff out there on KSL classifieds or, that sort of stuff. So that's one of them.
Are you going to do like the village around the train?
Oh yeah, we're going to have the whole thing, man. We're going to have mountains. We're going to have mountains and buildings and people and cars and trucks, and yeah, it's going to be huge.
That's cool, man.
It's going to be really fun. And to be honest with you, I enjoyed that as a kid. I started building my own thing. I never quite got it finished, but we're doing it in N gauge, which is one of the smaller gauges. I wasn't aware of this until just this week, but there's like 10 different sizes of model trains, from all the way from like cars being this tall and this big to N gauge isn't even the smallest gauge, but cars can be like this size.
Wow.
And train cars, not regular cars. And we're doing N gauge as one of the smaller ones. So you can fit a lot of stuff on a 8x4.
Oh yeah.
But it'll eventually probably grow to be bigger than 8x4. But there's that. And then my granddaughter's taken an interest in basketball clubs. So I've taken her to a couple of basketball games, and she's enjoyed that. And I have another son, my oldest son's son from his first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
He has 1 son in each marriage. The son in the first marriage is the youngest of those 3, and the son in the second marriage is the oldest of those 2. But that guy's a BYU sports fanatic too. So I've taken him to some basketball games and football games. But
is that the son that went with us when we went years ago to the BYU Utah game?
Yeah, Michael.
Michael, dude, what a good kid.
He's a good kid. He loves BYU sports. And so my resolutions mostly revolve around time with other people, and top on the list is going to be my wife, and then second on the list is going to be my grandkids.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid.
That's most of what I'm really working on.
Solid.
I got a couple of fitness goals too, but those will be gone in February. So the good thing about the train goal is that kid will not let me drop that in February.
Right.
I mean, he was so excited to come over.
Yeah.
It's funny. And because of his autism, he's a little hesitant to do some things sometimes. And this is big. And you would only recognize this if you saw the kid. But Monday morning, he woke up. So we were going to get together from noon to 4. Mm-hmm. He woke up Monday morning and he said to his mom, he said, "Mom, when we get to Grandpa's house, can I just get out of the car and go to the door alone, and you and Judy," he's got a younger sister, Judy, "and you and Judy stay in the car and let me just go to the door alone?" That's not something he would ever do.
Right.
He's too scared to come to a door by himself, but he was so excited. So it's fun to see.
Yeah.
It's a lot of good stuff.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. For our listeners, I would love to know your guys' New Year's resolution, your goals for 2026.
Yeah. How many of you want to quit smoking?
For those of you that aren't following us on our social media platforms, this is a invitation to do so and post some of your guys' goals in 2026. I'm always looking for ways for people to interact and for us to connect with our audience. And so I'd love to hear from you. We just got on TikTok, and our TikTok's growing, and that's a fun platform. Our day one is
do we have to
typically
do dances now?
We might have to, dude. We might have to do some dances.
We're going to get kicked off of TikTok then if you make me dance.
Facebook is a platform that that's our our main bread and butter.
Yeah.
So if you're not already,
if you
come
can,
find us on social
yeah,
media.
if you can, like and subscribe. It helps us a little bit. We don't make any money off it, but it helps us get the word out to other people. So,
Absolutely.
and if you have any friends that are interested in any of the topics, just recommend us to people.
Yeah, man, that's word of mouth is how this thing's really, I feel like, grown. So we appreciate you, the listener. Doc, love you.
Love you, brother. Love all of you out there that are trying to get and or stay clean and sober, and have a lovely 2026. We'll be with you quite a bit this year.